Hello, it's Dean Ryan here from bookmakers.com TV. I am joined by our stats guru, of course, from bookmakers.com once again. Now, previously, we've done the Premier League and we've had a look at how teams need to improve, but this time it's all about the NFL. The NFL season is back. Charlie Mullen.
It is, Dean. Starts on Thursday night. Rams against the Bills. So I'm looking forward to a pretty good season. There's a lot of questions that need answering, but should be a good one.
We asked you, as we do on bookmakers.com, to crunch the numbers, look at the data, work out how they fared last season, and let us know where your NFL team needs to improve this season. What division are we going to kick off with?
We're going to start with the AFC East. And the beauty about the NFL, Dean, is that you have so many statistical categories that at one point or another, each team will be either bottom or top of each category. So there's plenty of things that they can improve on, and there's plenty of things that they are good at. So, like I said, I'm going to start at the AFC East, and the Buffalo Bills first up.
Let's kick off with the Bills.
Pardon?
Kick off with the Bills. Let's go.
Yeah, start with the Bills. They need to reduce the number of defensive holding penalties they gave away last year, which was they were flagged 15 times last season, which was the most in the league. And defensive penalties automatically gives the opposition a first down, so keeps your defense out there for longer than they want to and keeps the drive going for the opposition. So not a good thing to be bottom of the list or top of the list, whichever way you want to look at it. Next, Miami Dolphins, they need to protect the ball better. They had 12 lost fumbles last year. Now they're generally a coach killer. When you lose the ball and give the ball back to the opposition, you start all over again. It's just real momentum killer, deflation all around. So that's something that they can't afford to do this season if they are to achieve their goals. New England Patriots, they need to protect the punter. Now, punting isn't a massive part of the game, but the Patriots had 3 punts blocked last year. The result of that is you're giving the opposition a shorter field to play with, which increases their chances of scoring, which is never a good thing. And finally, in the AFC East, we've got the New York Jets. Could have picked a number of categories for the Jets to improve on next season, but we've gone for the obvious one: stop teams from scoring. They gave up a league high 29.6 points per game, which means they have to score 30 points a game to win, and their offense is not catered to score that number of points per game. So they're kind of behind they're snookered from the beginning, basically.
Tough season in store for the Jets, if that's anything to go by. But they have to give their offense a chance by tightening up with the defense, as you said. The New England Patriots got to protect their punter. Getting their kicks blocked all the time is not going to help them. The Miami Dolphins, well, they have to protect the ball better, as you said. Too many fumbles for them. And the Bills, well, discipline. All about discipline. What division's next?
The AFC North.
Okay.
I'm going to start with the Baltimore Ravens. And one area they could improve on is to defend passes better. They allowed 278.9 passing yards per game last season. Now, passing is the quickest way to get downfield. And if you allow the teams to to throw the ball for almost 300 yards a game, it increases their chances of scoring quickly. So they need to improve their pass defense. See the way I said defense, not defense.
Yeah, I did. Let's move on to the Bengals.
Yeah, Cincinnati Bengals, they need to bounce back better from bye weeks. They currently have the worst record of all 32 teams in the NFL. Wow. The record after a bye week is 11 wins, 23 losses, and 1 tie or a draw. They need to bounce back better after a bye week. Every team
losing focus once they hit the beach or go on a little holiday.
I don't know how many beaches there are in Cincinnati.
No, but they can fly anywhere they want. They're definitely taking it too handy on their bye week, it seems. That's the Bengals. What about the Cleveland Browns?
Cleveland Browns need to kick field goals better. They were only successful with 72.7% of their kicks last season. Now, when you miss a field goal, the opposition takes over from where the kick was snapped. Again, that gives the opposition a smaller field to play with, which increases their chances of scoring. So the more accurate you are with field goals, the better you are at building a lead and defending a lead.
Yeah, makes sense. The Steelers, I think, complete the division.
Yeah, the Steelers, they need to stop the run. The run defense last year was the worst in the league. They allowed opposition's teams to rush for 146.1 rushing yards. That's a real grind for the defensive linemen who basically have to try and stop the running back. It wears them down, makes them tired, and the more tired you are, opposition offenses can pick you off. And by running the ball more, you can keep your playbook open. It brings the passing game back into it. If you can't run the ball, you have to go with the pass game more often. So if you can run the ball well, you've got both sides of the ball that you can play with.
They're going to make other teams take more risks, it seems. Okay, so that's the Steelers and the Browns. Obviously, they've got to improve their field goal kicking. The Bengals, well, they've got to maybe stay focused during the bye weeks. I don't know what they're up to, but maybe that's something they should focus on. And of course, the Ravens, as you said, they allowed just too much passing yards on them last year. That's where they need to improve. Where are we going next? What division?
We are going AFC South, and we're going to start.
Okay.
We're going to start with the Houston Texans in the AFC South. They've been rebuilding their franchise for a number of years. A number of star players have left over the last few years, but they're not getting far quickly. They only managed 8 rushing touchdowns last year, so that is one area that they need to improve on. 8 rushing touchdowns last year was the worst in the league. Wow. So that's certainly an area that they need to improve on.
Okay, that's the Texans.
Yep. Indianapolis Colts next up. The red zone in American football, Dean, is obviously the 20 yards each end of the pitch, and both offensively and defensively, the Colts could do better in both areas. They were ranked 26th on offense in the red zone, and they were ranked 20th on defense in the red zone, which ain't going to win you many championships in the NFL.
Okay, Colts need to improve in the red zone, as you say. The Jacksonville Jags.
How long do we have? No, the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars were rewarded, shall we say, with the number 1 draft pick for the 2nd year in a row. Now that's given to the worst team in the league, which is not a good thing to be. But you could have picked any number of categories for the Jacksonville Jaguars to improve on, but we're going for the obvious. Score more points and they'll win more games. They averaged 14.9 points per game last season, which was the lowest in the NFL.
Not much for the Jags fans to get excited about on match day if that's all they're managing to put on the board. So yeah, improve everywhere. We've one more team there, I think, the Titans, Tennessee Titans.
Tennessee Titans, they should be more explosive, in my opinion. They've got one of the most explosive running backs in the game in Derrick Henry. He can turn a 2-yard gain into a 40, 50, 60-yard gain and possibly a touchdown. But they only had 35 plays of 20 yards or more last season, so that is an area I think they could improve on this season.
Okay, they need to click. Only 35 plays of 20-plus yards last season. The second fewest. That's pretty remarkable, given the armory they have. The Jags, well, they need to improve in a lot of different places. The Colts, of course, got to be better in the red zone. And the Houston Texans, well, let's try and rush a little bit more. They were a little bit low down in the category. What's the next division we're tackling, Charlie?
The next one is the final one in the AFC, and that is the AFC West. We'll start with the Denver Broncos. Yep. New quarterback this year, Russell Wilson, gone from Seattle to Denver. And the team will hope that Russell Wilson can get them off to faster starts. They only scored first 7 times. Now, to put that into context, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who we spoke about before, they scored first 5 times in their matches last year. So that is definitely an area that Denver can improve on. If you score first and you can defend that lead, you'll win more games.
Okay, Kansas City Chiefs.
Kansas City Chiefs, yep. Stop the ball carrier sooner. They gave up 5.8 yards per play last season, which is the worst in the league. And if you do that twice, you've made 11 yards, and you only need 10 yards for a first down. So it keeps the opposition offense on the pitch, keeps their drives rolling. So if they can reduce that number to maybe 3 or 4 yards per game, then they'll stand a better chance of stopping teams from marching down the field and scoring.
Okay, what about the Las Vegas Raiders?
Yeah, they need to make more stands on 4th down defensively. They allowed 21 first downs from the 29 4th downs they faced last year defensively. And that, again, is like soul-destroying for the coaching team when you see oppositions going for it on 4th down and converting it and keeping their drives alive. So it's demoralizing for the Raiders defense when they see that happening, and their offense as well, because, you know, when you're on a 4th down, you expect the offense to be back on the pitch very shortly, but not when you can't stop teams from converting 4th downs into first downs.
Yeah, that stop-start notion just disrupts a whole whole rhythm for a side. So I can understand that. All right, they'll need to improve there. The Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, the Los Angeles Chargers. A lot of people's tips this year to go all the way to the Super Bowl. If they are to get to the Super Bowl in February, they'll have to be better defensively when they are in 3rd down situations. They allowed almost half last season. It was 49.5% of 3rd downs were converted into first downs by the opposition offense. So if they can change that and bring that figure down considerably, then they'll stand more chance of winning games and perhaps get to the Super Bowl.
Perhaps similar issues then for the Vegas Raiders and the Los Angeles Chargers. We're just talking about 3rd and 4th down there. The Kansas City Chiefs, well, they've got to block that rush a little bit earlier, of course, stopping the ball carrier. And the Broncos, well, they need to start a bit fast. They might do that with their new QB. Okay, where are we moving now divisionally?
We are moving conferencely as well into the NFC, and
Yep.
the NFC East is the first division we'll look at here. And it's the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, so-called by experts in the 1980s, I think it was. They were on TV so often that I think they called themselves America's team because everybody wanted to watch them.
Yep.
One area they need to improve on, very simple, be more disciplined. They were penalized 127 times last year, which is the most of any team in the NFL. And so far in the preseason, that message of being more disciplined has not got through. They were penalized quite heavily. I think it was over 30, 35 times in the 3 matches. So that doesn't look to be an area that they have improved on, but it needs to be an area they do need to improve on.
Okay, discipline for the Cowboys. What about the New York Giants?
New York Giants, they need to be more productive in the first half, Dean. They only led twice at halftime last season, which they played 17 games. Now, some of those were tied, but it's nice to go in at halftime with the lead, and it makes the coach's team talk a little bit easier when you've got a lead to defend. But when you've only led twice, it's you're playing catch up a lot of the time, and the Giants' offense aren't in a position to play catch up football.
Okay, that's the Giants. What about the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, Philadelphia Eagles, they look okay on offense, but as defensively, they need to break up more passes. They allowed a league high 69.4% of completions last season. Again, like I said earlier, if you can complete your passes downfield, it's a quicker way to make 10 yards, to get a first down. So that is one area that I think the Eagles will be looking on to improve this year.
Okay, a bit of pass blocking needed there for the Eagles. What about the Washington Commanders to wrap that one up?
Yeah, they need to defend let's just say they need to take command of their end zone. They've got a new name this year. They were a Washington football team last year, now the Commanders. They need to defend their end zone better. They gave up 34 passing touchdowns last year, which again was the worst in the league. So if they can fine-tune that and get that number down and be more solid in the pass defense side of things, then they could have a good season.
Okay, that's the Commanders with defensive issues. Similar for the Philadelphia Eagles, need to break up some of those opposition passes. The Giants, well, they've got to start a bit better and get in at halftime with a lead, a bit more than they did last season, of course. And it's all about discipline for the Dallas Cowboys. Where are we going next?
We are going to the NFC North, and we're going to go to Chicago. The Bears, simple, protect their quarterback. The quarterback is the most important player on the NFL pitch, on field. If you can't protect him, you ain't going to win any games whatsoever. And the Bears last year, their quarterbacks were sacked a total of 58 times, which was the most in the league by a long way. Again, it's a coach killer. You get pushback, however number of yards it is. And not only that, but there's a bigger chance of getting an injury when you're being sacked that often. And if you don't have a good backup quarterback, then your season could end. So firstly, the Bears need to protect their quarterback better than they did last year.
Okay, that's the Bears. What about the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, the Detroit Lions, again, they haven't had a great season for a number of years. And the area that I think they need to improve on this year, Dean, is be braver on third downs. So you can go conservative when you've got a third down play coming up, and that sort of hinders you in achieving the first down that you need. They only converted 34.7 of the third downs they faced on offense last year, which means that you're forced into punting or trying a long-range field goal. Not always guaranteed to be successful. So it's an area that can help you win more games very much.
Yep, they've got to get closer on that third down and give them a chance to convert. The Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, Green Bay Packers have got the best quarterback over the last 2 seasons, MVP, Aaron Rodgers. So that side of the game's okay, even though they've lost their star wide receiver, Devontae Adams, who's gone to the Raiders. But the area that the Packers, I should say, need to improve on is defending kickoffs better. Again, it might not be high on the list of priorities for any head coach in the NFL, but when you give away 75.5 kickoff return yards per game, you're making the pitch smaller for the opposition to turn that into points.
Yeah.
And you're giving yourself a mountain to climb if that happens, especially on opening kickoffs or the kickoff at the start of the second half. So yeah, that's one area that I think the Packers will be looking to improve on this season.
Yeah, give up less of an advantage from what is pretty much a simplistic play in the NFL. Minnesota Vikings complete the 4 there.
Yeah, the Minnesota Vikings complete the NFC North, and they could do with reducing the number of offensive penalties they give up per game. A total of 61.4 yards last year was the highest in the league. And again, you're just pushing yourself back and further away from the end zone when you're penalized as often as you are for the amount of yards that you are. So the Vikings, that is one area they need to smarten up in.
Okay, a little bit of discipline issue with the Vikings. The Packers, well, they've got to defend those kickoffs better and stop giving up such an advantage so early. And with the Detroit Lions, well, braver to get them closer to convert on third downs. And while the Bears, well, if they don't protect their quarterback, they won't have one. So they're going to have to be a little bit better there. Okay, let's keep moving on. I think we're heading to Atlanta with the Falcons.
We are, yes, NFC South now, Dean. Yeah, we talked about sacking the quarterback with the Chicago Bears earlier. It's the other side of the ball that Atlanta needs to do. They need to sack more quarterbacks. They only registered 18 sacks last year from 17 regular season games. That's not good enough. If you can't put pressure on the opposition quarterback, he could just sit in the pocket and throw passes left, right, center for as many yards as he wants. And yeah, it's going to keep your defense on the pitch for longer than they want to, especially at the start of the season when the temperatures are like so hot. It's the last thing you want to do. So sack more quarterbacks is a message that the Falcons defenders need to be getting from their head coaches.
Got it. Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, still on the defensive side. Well, actually, it's the offensive side of the ball. Stop throwing interceptions.
Sounds simple.
It is, yes. Just throw to your own players.
Yeah.
Not the opposition. 21 interceptions last year by the Panthers was the most in the league. And, you know, yourself, when you throw an interception, that's the end of the drive. You give them possession back to the opposition. So, yeah, the less interceptions you have, the more chance you have of keeping your drives going, the more chance you have of scoring.
More accuracy, less freebies given away, please, Carolina Panthers. New Orleans Saints.
New Orleans Saints, the easiest thing in the NFL should be to kick an extra point. It's only, I don't know what it is, 17, 18 yards. You're right in front of the goalpost, the upright. But the New Orleans Saints have made kicking extra points look very, very difficult last season. They converted only 81.6% of the extra points that they had. So that is an area that they really, really need to improve on, because a lot of games can come down to 1-2 points, and missed extra point could be the difference.
Yeah, that is disappointing from them. I want to improve on that. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers complete that one, I think.
Yes, Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Super Bowl champions a few years ago. Tom Brady took some time away from training camp earlier in the summer, and it remains to be seen how that will impact the cohesion that the team have on offense in particular. I think they need to be more balanced when they come to selecting their plays on offense. Last season, they had 66.8% of their plays were passing plays, and only 33.2% were rushing plays. Now, with that comes predictability. But when you have Tom Brady, who's considered the greatest of all time to throw the ball in the NFL with 7 championship rings, it's easy to depend on him to throw the ball downfield and put in more passing plays. But you do become very predictable, very one-dimensional. So the more running plays you have, the better you can sort of play action, pass, send in some of those plays to keep the defense guessing.
Yeah, be less predictable. But I mean, that is tricky with that man with the ball, of course, as you mentioned. So, okay, that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The New Orleans Saints, then, well, they've got to take those extra points. Kicking those extra points has to happen for them to be more competitive. Carolina Panthers, well, they just need to be more accurate and stop giving the ball away. 21 interceptions, a league high, is a massive number. And then the Atlanta Falcons, well, more aggressive with the defense and sack more quarterbacks. I mean, that, again, we're simplistic, but if these are the areas with the problems, they're the ones that can be fixed, you would hope. I think we've only one division left, Charlie.
That's correct. And that is the NFC West. And we start with the Arizona Cardinals in the desert. They need to reduce the number of false start penalties that they give away. That's basically making a move before the ball is snapped. It's unacceptable.
Jumping the gun like a 100-meter sprinter. That's what.
Correct. Very much so. And it's just as frustrating. You don't get disqualified as often, as quickly as you do in athletics. However, it does push your offense back a little bit further, making life a lot difficult. Suddenly, a short pass play needs to become like a more risky, longer pass or whatever you want to choose. So they were flagged 26 times for false starts last year, and it's really unacceptable for a team to be caught, giving away false starts as often as that. So that is something that they need to improve on this season if they are to achieve their goals.
Okay, that's the Arizona Cardinals. What about the LA Rams?
Yeah, they could do with rushing for more touchdowns. They only ran for 10 rushing touchdowns last year. Houston had 8, and they were one of the worst teams in the league. So I'm guessing that the Rams would like to rush for more touchdowns. But hey, they won the Super Bowl last year with only 10 rushing touchdowns. So who are we to criticize them? But if they could score more rushing touchdowns, then it takes the pressure off Matthew Stafford. He doesn't have to pass for as many touchdowns.
Hey, look, you had to find something, and they're one of the best teams around, of course.
Correct.
So you did find something they can improve on. No doubt they'll be working on it as well with the season ahead. The San Francisco 49ers are next.
Yeah, they need to defend passes better, Dean. They were called for defensive pass interference 20 times last year. And that's another very costly penalty to give away because you're giving up the yardage. If it's a 60-yard pass, then it's a 60-yard penalty and a first down. So they need to be able to time their tackles better and not interfere with the receiver before the ball gets there. So it's all about timing with 49ers when they're defending the passes.
Technical errors, and you don't want the reputation of it because then it gets picked up more and more and more. So
exactly.
Yeah, they're going to have to work on that. That's the 49ers. The Seattle Seahawks complete our run.
Yeah, we've got to the last team, 32nd team. And as far as the Seahawks are concerned this year, I think they need to be a lot braver when they go for it on 4th down on offense. When they did go for it last year, they only converted 36.4% of the times. Again, when you go for it and you don't make it, it's just soul destroying for the whole team. If you can convert those 4th downs and move the chains and get a first down, it keeps everybody buoyed with enthusiasm. But when you don't get it, it's just like, we've gone for it, we didn't get it. We've given the opposition a short field. Like I keep saying, the shorter the field, the easier it is for the opposition to score. And we don't convert on 4th down. That's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, they've got to cut that disappointment out. That's the Seahawks. So the 49ers we mentioned there, it's all about their technique and stopping that pass interference. A bit more rushing for touchdowns from the LA Rams. But when you do everything else right, I'm sure they'll take the same numbers and the same ends of season result. And the Cardinals got to get rid of their itchy feet. So they're still making those full stats. Charlie, I think we did it. I think we went through all 32 teams for the NFL season coming up. Where does your team need to improve? That article is up on bookmakers.com. You'll be able to go and read it in its entirety. Will some of these things come to fruition? Well, then your team will improve. Of course, check out bookmakers.com for all you need to know for the NFL season. All kicks off on Thursday. Best of luck to everyone involved. Charlie, thanks very much.
My pleasure, Dean.